Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. Today is Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Only 21 days left of the year. Can you believe it? 2026 is almost here. Thanks for being here. We'd love to know where you're watching from and if you have any questions tonight. I'm really excited about tonight's interview. Elizabeth Smart is here. She has a new book that comes out just in a few days, next Tuesday. It's called Detours, Hope and Growth After Life's Hardest Turns. It's a great, easy read for everybody. Regarding no matter what you've been through, we all go through trauma in our life, some bigger than others. We all go through trials and crises, and we all have things that happen to us. And this is kind of a book to give encouragement and hope to no matter what you're going through. I'll read you the inside cover. In Detours, Elizabeth Smart explores how trauma can derail one's path in life and shares her struggles with captivity, reintegration, and resilience. Using the metaphor of life as a road, Smart introduces 4 rest stops for navigating life's detours: grieving lost paths, embracing change, seeking connections, and redefining destinations. Through themes of hope, community, and self-discovery, she inspires readers to find strength in their own journeys toward healing. We all remember the headlines, don't you? In fact, let's go to newspapers.com, sponsor of Courtroom Insider. Great service. You type in Elizabeth Smart's name, look at these headlines. First of all, from when she vanished. It was back in 2002. She vanished from her Salt Lake City home in an upper class neighborhood. And there were all sorts of questions about what happened to this adorable little girl who was 14 at the time. And then the newspapers, of course, continued to cover it. It quickly became the biggest national story in the world. International story, I should say. Biggest national story in the country and then around the world. I remember I was in Australia at the time, and I heard about, mainly because my family lived in Utah, I heard about people in Australia that there was this missing Elizabeth Smart girl who was kidnapped from her home. And you've heard the horror stories about getting kidnapped off the streets or from your house, but this was like happening in real life. And then over the next few months, different theories came out. You can go and read. There's been several books written about this. There's been docuseries, documentaries. In fact, I think there was even made-for-TV movies about this, about what was happening over those months and different suspects that the police focused on. And then turns out it wasn't who they thought it was. And then one of the suspects or persons of interest ended up dying. And it wasn't until America's Most Wanted aired an episode about Elizabeth Smart and said that, well, it was about Brian David Mitchell, the man who ultimately ended up abducting her. They talked about Brian David Mitchell, and America's Most Wanted aired a show. And then just days later, Elizabeth Smart was found. And here were the headlines on that day. I mean, major news all over the world that she'd been found alive. I think that's the first question you hear. Elizabeth Smart's been found. You might say, was she alive, or where was her body, or what type of condition was she in? And instead, it's the fact that she is alive. I remember I was in college. By that point, I had returned from Australia. I was living in Rexburg. I was at Little Caesars Pizza. In the car, the radio was on, and they interrupted a song, and they came on the radio and said, "We have breaking news. Elizabeth Smart's been found alive." And I was like, "What?" And I drove back to my apartment, and I don't think we had cable in the apartment. I don't remember. The internet was still in the, this was 2003. The internet was in the early stages, and I couldn't find anything online, but I finally did end up tuning in and just was blown away by this story. And here we are over 20 years later, still talking about this because I think we're fascinated by her story, by what happened. Here's some of the news coverage from when she was found. I'll just play a little clip.
Sky's just a little bit brighter in Utah today, I'd say, because Elizabeth's back. She's with her family.
For the second day in a row, FBI spokesperson Chip Burris greeted the media with exuberance.
We had 2 goals. The first one was to bring her back safely, and the second was to locate the people who did this. On both of those objectives, we think we've accomplished that.
And now they're trying to figure out what happened. From the research so far, detectives think suspect Brian Mitchell and Wanda Barzey led Elizabeth Smart around the country from campsite to campsite, spending the first 2 months just above the Smarts' Salt Lake City home, then moving to San Diego, California for several months. Today, 2 critical campsites have been identified.
As you know, most of the investigations of this type don't end in this way, so we're basically building from scratch. We've got the puzzle pieces now, we know what it looks like, and we're putting them together slowly but surely. This afternoon, with the help of Elizabeth and other information that we were able to obtain, we think we found the campsite up in the hills. Right now, it's marked off and is being processed by the FBI's evidence response team. They'll be up there turning the place over until we get a thorough crime scene conducted up there. In San Diego this afternoon, based on the information that Elizabeth was able to provide, we think we found the campsite in San Diego. And our evidence teams are down there, again, turning that over with the help of the San Diego County Sheriff's Office in an attempt to find any and all relevant evidence to this particular case.
Still amazing to consider after all of these years. So now Elizabeth, she's written a couple of other books that have been really good, sharing her story. And now, as I mentioned, she has a new book out. It's called Detours. It comes out on Tuesday, but you can pre-order it now and then have it in your mailbox on Tuesday, or picked up from the bookstore on Tuesday. And I chatted with her a little bit earlier about this new book. Here is Elizabeth Smart. And joining me now, Elizabeth Smart, author of the new book, Detours, Hope and Growth After Life's Hardest Turns. Elizabeth, I was just telling you that this is such a good read, because I think there's something for everybody in here, and you can read it pretty much all in one sitting if you're a fast reader. What made you decide to write this?
Just as I have gone through my life, I've met so many people, and I don't actually think I've ever met someone who doesn't have a story. I feel like everyone has been through some kind of trauma or have had some kind of upset in their life where their life didn't exactly go to plan. And I just have been so inspired by all of these stories that people have shared. And I think probably one of the greatest tragedies that I see is when people experience trauma and there's a loss of life because they can't move forward, not necessarily like in the sense of death, but just a loss of life in that they can't find their new path forward. And so in this book, I did my best to try to pinpoint the steps that really helped make a difference for me, and then tried to share them. And hopefully, like, I understand not everyone's healing journey is the same, but I hope for someone this helps.
You talk about how you had this kind of plan in your mind before you were abducted, that your life was going to be perfect. You know, you were going to you were playing the harp, you were going to go to school, have a family, do all this stuff, and then this horrible traumatic event happened, and then you end up, coming home, being rescued, and the life changed with that. And in fact, I think you talk about someone coming up to you at a meet and greet, and you're constantly asked questions about, how did you survive? What did you do with everything that happened to you? How can you possibly be here? How do you respond to those type of questions?
I mean, first of all, I like to remind people, please don't compare yourself. Like, we are all different, like whether you want to compare it to fingerprints, snowflakes, whatever. We're all different. Whatever we experience, even if it was the exact same experience, because we're different, it's still different. So stop comparing yourself. I want to remind them of that. But then also I try to explain to them how, what worked for me won't necessarily work for you. And you need to find your way forward. Sometimes that's asking for external help. Sometimes that's finding your family, because maybe you weren't fortunate enough to be born into a loving, caring family. Maybe you need to find your family. And that means it could be friends, it could be neighbors, it could be mentors, therapists. I mean, find your family, find your support group. Don't ever give up hope on yourself. You deserve happiness. There is nothing that anyone could do to you that could take away your value as a human being. So don't lessen that for yourself. I mean, believe in yourself. Know you deserve happiness and love.
You talk about kind of four key pillars in dealing with the detours that come into our lives. Can you kind of explain what those four are that you've incorporated into your life?
Yeah, so one of the first one that I kind of go into in the book is mourning lost paths, which basically is life did not go the way you thought it was going to go. You know, something big or small happened that has altered your life's course. And it's okay to feel sad over that loss. It's okay to mourn the life you imagined for yourself, wherever that path was going to take you. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the emotions of sadness, of anger. There's nothing wrong. Those are just emotions like happiness. Those are emotions. And so it's okay to, take the time to feel those emotions and work your way through them. Another one is to to pursue connection fearlessly. And I have like so much flowing around my head. I'm probably
No
jumping
worries, no
around a
worries.
little bit. But connection, again, I think that is so important in everyone's journey through life. I feel like I see all the time humans are social creatures. We need each other. And isolating yourself, that can be so, I feel like, damaging. And I guess I look back on my own experience and I share this in the book. When I came home, I really was never doubted. I mean, there's always a few conspiracy theorists, but I really was not doubted. I had a family come around me, I had a community come around me who all believed me, who all supported me, who were all there for me, wanting to help me, trying to do everything they could. But as I've gone around the country meeting other survivors, not everyone else has had that. And I feel like having that belief in you can really set your trajectory for healing, or holding it inside you because you think you won't be believed, or maybe someone's already told you they don't believe you. So, pursuing that connection fearlessly, finding the people that you can rely on for everything. So, seeking change, finding your new way forward. And I guess, again, reflecting back on my own experience, I thought after I was rescued, I could go back to being who I was before I was kidnapped. I thought that I could just pick right back up where I left off, but I couldn't. I mean, all of a sudden, people recognized me wherever I went. And that was a huge shock because nobody knew who I was before I was kidnapped. And in my mind, I hadn't changed at all. And it was overwhelming and it was shocking. And so trying to adjust that plan, adjust my plan, my path, around, other people approaching me, telling me their stories, feeling like I was a safe person, learning how to um, work my way through that, because sometimes it is hard when you hear deeply traumatic, dark experiences and you've already had that in your own life, and you want to help someone, but you also don't want to like be pulled back down into your own darkness that you've
Mhm.
experienced. So finding your new way forward, I think is can be very tricky, but also is so important. I mean, I also talk about my parents' divorce. They were the foundation that I built my life on. I could not imagine my life without them being like the base of my life. And then 7 years ago, they told us they were getting a divorce, and that was such a shock for me, for my brothers, for my sister. And now things have changed. Now Christmas, Thanksgiving, it's kind of like, okay, well, does anyone know what dad's doing? Does anyone know what mom's doing? Are we doing stuff together? Are we dividing and conquering? I mean, like, are people doing stuff on Christmas Day, or are they doing it like days before? Like,
Mhm.
it's new territory to navigate. It's finding a new way forward.
You got pretty personal talking about that, Elizabeth, and you realized that your memories and your relationship with your dad was kind of through your mom. That you would, call mom and be like, oh yeah, if dad's there, put him on the phone. And how the awakening, that one of the major detours in your life was when you got that 5 a.m. call from your dad, not just saying, your mom and I are splitting up, but I'm gay and I'm leaving the church that you grew up in and that he was a part of. It was almost as big as a bombshell as when you were abducted, you say in the book.
I mean, it was a huge bombshell. Like at first I remember being so groggy because my youngest was only like a month old and in that stage of not really sleeping through the night. And oh, I remember just saying, wait, this is not real. Like I must have misheard my dad. He didn't just say that. And like he wouldn't be calling so early in the morning unless like someone was in the hospital or dying. So I must have misheard that. And but no, I mean, he said he I heard what he said, and it was a lot to take in. And then just recognizing from there on out that, I always thought I was close with my dad before, but then kind of realizing that actually, no, a lot of mine and my dad's relationship had kind of been piggybacking off of my relationship with my mom. And so it really um, forced me to re examine my relationship with him and build a better one than I had with him before.
And would you say that at this point you have a good relationship? Obviously, they're different now because your parents have separated. But I know a lot of people when they're going through that, they don't think they'll ever get that. They don't think they'll ever be as close or closer to their parents after a divorce.
I mean, there are certainly difficult times, or there's there are times when, of course, I'm still sad because I'm like, it would be nice. It would be nice to have both my parents here, or it would be nice to have them as a unit. It would be nice not to worry about uh, feelings. Um, so it's hard, but yeah, I do think that relationships can be healed. I think
Mhm.
that they can. I think it being hard. I mean, my dad and I have certainly had our disagreements or where we've hurt each other's feelings, but it's also given us time or space to come back and say, like, hey, this hurt my feelings. And then for us to kind of expound on why we felt that way or what made us feel that way, and then apologize and move forward. And yeah, I feel like my relationship with my dad today is better than it has been in the past.
Yeah. I love how candid you are in the book. You told a story that I had never heard about when you were training to go on your mission to Paris. You're in the training center and a guy shows up and proposes to you in front of, if I'm right, if I remember right, in front of your now husband, which at the time you guys weren't dating or anything. In fact, had you even met? You had just met like that day or that week.
I mean, we had met like a couple weeks before, but we hadn't really spoken like
Mm,
directly to each other. We'd just been in a group setting. But
yeah.
yeah.
So this guy makes his way and proposes to you, and it ends up. I won't. We don't have to give it away because people, you can read the story in the book. I'm sitting there thinking, what? And a reminder to the audience: this is after you had been kidnapped and found, and years later. So you're well known. I mean, you're people know who you are, and this random guy shows up there.
Yeah, yeah, it was wow. Then I mean he was a nice guy. Like he wasn't like a bad guy or anything. He was a nice guy. He just wasn't the guy for me.
Yeah.
And I mean I feel like I should say like bless his heart. Uh, it just he wasn't my match.
Right. Well, it ended up, read the book because you can find out how her now husband played into all of this and how, out of all the missionaries, you and him end up on the flight to Paris to the same mission, and now you're the parents of three children and you're getting ready for Christmas. So I guess it all worked out. One of the things, Elizabeth, too, that I wanted to ask you is you mentioned earlier how when you disappeared back in the day, there was not social media, there was not YouTube or things like that. Now, when people disappear or be these crimes become high profile, you immediately seem to get conspiracy theorists and people online that are dissecting every bit of the case. And I can only imagine what it would be like today if this happened to you. Do you ever connect with other victims, other people who have gone through these things? And what's your take on the true crime world as of today?
That's a great question. Yes, I have connected with many other survivors, and the one thing I just always say to them is don't read the comments,
Mm,
because there could be like 99 wonderful supportive comments and one terrible nasty comment, but you'll walk away only remembering the one nasty terrible comment. So don't read the comments. And I mean, I'd even encourage like just take a break from social media. I think it can be an incredibly powerful tool for good. I mean, we can get information out so quickly, spread so far. I mean, like if something goes viral, it can be spread worldwide almost instantly. Um, so it can be incredibly powerful. At the same time, like, it can be so damaging, and where so many people have social media accounts and you're just showing part of your life. If anything ever happens to you, your account will be scrutinized. Like, oh, well, look, she's wearing like a short little dress in this picture. I mean, was she kind of provocative in her past? And you're really put up in the court of public opinion as to whether or not you're worthy enough to be believed. So I think it is a very fine edge to walk. I think it can be very good. I think it can also be very dangerous. And I just like, I just caution everyone.
yeah. You talk about finding your people and the importance of finding your people after you've been through any trauma, any detour in your life. And you have to get the right people around you. Otherwise, it can maybe cause more harm than what you're going through. Can you elaborate on that? And who are the people that you have found in your life that help you through these detours?
Okay, well, I'm going to speak about, I mean, the world that I know, which is the world of, unfortunately, sexual abuse and violence. The vast majority of people who experience abuse, sexual abuse, um, is the perpetrators are people that they know. Um, that's the majority. And many times it's not uncommon for that person to be a family member, a biological family member. And I used to think that my experience was the worst experience that anyone could ever go through. And I, for years, was almost scared to share it because I just didn't think that anyone else could understand what I had been through. However, other people did share their experiences with me, and the more that I was being told these different experiences, and I began to realize, first of all, I wasn't alone, that actually tons and tons and tons of people have experienced something similar to what I've experienced. But then I also began to realize that I was actually very, very lucky because I was one of the few people that did not know their perpetrator. And that got me thinking, how difficult would it be to learn to trust again if the very person who was hurting you was supposed to be the person protecting you,
Mm,
or was someone in your inner circle, or someone that your whole family trusted? And if that's the case, I mean, if it was like a well-known leader, an uncle, whoever it is that's trusted and known, and you then go try to you have a person in mind that you think you can rely on, you think you can trust, and so you go to them to try to tell them what's happened, and then they turn to you and they look at you and they say, well, are you sure that's what happened? Are you sure you weren't asking for it? Because I know that person. They're a good person. They would never do that kind of thing. Or, that's my husband. Like, he's your father. How dare you say that? He would never do that to you. And if that's the kind of reaction you're met with, where it's you're wrong, I don't believe you, you're imagining things, why would that survivor ever want to talk about it again? Why would
mm,
that survivor ever want to try to get help or report it to the police if her own family, or that person, because it's not always a girl, if that person's own family didn't believe them, why would the police believe them? Why would anyone else believe them? And if you're just bottling that up inside of you, that is going to destroy you from the inside out. Like, Maybe we can sweep it into the corner for a minute, but it will come back. And so finding your people, finding your family, that is so important. Finding the people that you know have your back, that you know you can talk to, that you know that they will believe you. And if you need to have someone hold your hand while you go report it to the police, they'll be there for that. Or if you don't want to report to the police and you just need someone to go on a walk with you, they'll be there for you. And maybe it's not even to talk about what happened. Maybe it's just to talk about how your dog is an absolute menace and anything that's put on your front porch is chewed up to bits. Not that that's exactly what happens to me, but um, finding your people really makes a difference in, I would say, everyone's healing.
Yeah, that's such great advice. As you said, not that you necessarily have to call someone and say, I need to go file a police report, but just, and maybe you're not there yet. Maybe that comes down the line in 2 or 3 or 4 months or weeks or whatever, but just someone that you can call to go on that walk. I found it fascinating, Elizabeth. You talk about how, um, when you were first recovered, first found, you didn't go to therapy. And I think so many of us, I have a daughter who's 12, and I think if she went through what you went through, the first thing I'd say is, we got to get to a therapist. We got to get her fixed or get her help or something like that. Can you kind of elaborate on that, on the role of therapy? You don't discount it at all in the book, but you talk about how for you at the time that wasn't what you went through.
I did not know really what therapy was. I mean, I had a very cartoonish image of what therapy was. I mean, it was, going into some room lined with books and having an old man with glasses leaning across the table, just asking you again and again, what happened, what happened, what happened. And I, I mean, the thought that even a therapist could be a woman didn't even enter my mind as a 15-year-old once I was rescued. And so I just remember at that point thinking, I don't ever want to talk about what happened to me. And because my image was of a man in my brain, I mean, I was also scared. I was nervous being around men after I was rescued. I mean, I just had realized that like it or no, there is a power imbalance between men and women. I mean, it doesn't matter how much I run or work out. I mean, my husband is still stronger than me and faster than me. And definitely as a 15-year-old who had tried to fight back while I was kidnapped and held captive. And every time I'd been overpowered, that imbalance felt so real for me and just so fresh in my mind. And so I didn't want to put myself in a situation that would caused me to have those feelings. And I told my parents I didn't want to talk to anyone. And I think, of course, my parents were worried because they wanted me to be okay. They wanted to help me in any way they possibly could. And I think it's very telling about them that they didn't force me to go to therapy. They let me make a decision, but they themselves, they went and saw a counselor, and that counselor, I mean, he was the one that said, it's okay. If she doesn't want to go, don't force her to go. Let her make this choice. She hasn't been able to make any choices for 9 months.
Mm,
Let her make this choice. And at the end of the day, both of you will probably be her biggest therapists anyway. So both of you just need to make sure you're in a place that when she's ready to talk, you can listen to what she has to say because it could be incredibly difficult. And I'm so grateful for that advice because then that really allowed my parents to allow me to kind of dictate my own healing and what I wanted. And I feel like for me, that is what worked. And I mean, I want to say, like, I am a believer in therapy, but also maybe therapy is not for everyone. Maybe it's about finding the right kind of therapy. Maybe it's not the traditional, what you have in your mind, like sit down with another person kind of therapy. Maybe it is just therapy being out in nature or going for a walk or I don't know, painting a sunset. I don't know. Or maybe it is looking into there's so many modalities of therapy. We've got equine therapy, we've got cognitive therapy, we've got EMDR. I mean, the list goes on and on. Maybe it's experimenting with these different modalities of the more uh, formalized therapy.
Right. And you talk about equine therapy being so helpful to you. The name of the book is Detours. You can pre-order it now. It comes out on Tuesday. It would make a great Christmas gift. Toward the end of the book, you write, Elizabeth, in my life, detours have led me to more strange and incredible destinations than I could begin to tell you. My career path is just one among the many. Because of my detours, I met my husband. I became a mother to my children. I found a community of survivors to love and support and to be loved and supported by. I met a president. I played my harp on national television. I completed 4, soon to be 5 marathons. And even more than the events and the achievements, there are positive changes within me. There are little joys too, drinking a huge glass of cold water anytime I'm thirsty, going skiing with Matthew and the kids, preparing a meal for the whole family. I survived something horrible. Now that I have the freedom to eat and drink, to do fun things with people I love, to go where I want to go and see beautiful sights on the way, suddenly these little joys don't seem so little anymore. I think that's powerful, powerful words for any of us that have gone through traumatic moments or scary moments or sad moments. That you can get through it and enjoy those things. What would you say to people who might need a little bit of hope and encouragement right now? How can this book help them?
Don't give up on yourself. Everybody has a story. I mean, whether it's illness, job loss, maybe it's something just like breaking up with a boyfriend. We've all only experienced our own worst pain. We haven't experienced anyone else's own worst pain, but we know how bad our own pain feels. So whatever that is tied to, whatever experience that is tied to, it feels terrible. But there is always hope to be had, that tomorrow's going to be better than today, or that next year is going to be better than this year. Don't give up on yourself. We are all so much stronger than we think we are. I mean, I have so many people tell me all the time, "Oh, Elizabeth, like you're so strong. I could never go through what you went through." But actually, like if you'd told me that beforehand, I would have said the same thing. I can't go through that. But when you don't have a choice, when you're forced to go through it, you do it. You go through it. I mean, I didn't have a choice whether I was kidnapped or not, or I didn't have a choice saying, "Okay, I'm done, I tap out. Like this is too hard." Like there was no choice involved. It was just survive. That was it. And I wish everyone would believe that of themselves. Just survive today. Survive tomorrow. Look for like the little things along the way that make you smile or bring you joy or just make the world a little bit less dark of a place. Don't give up on yourself. You deserve love. You deserve happiness. You deserve all the good things that everybody else deserves. Don't give up. And if you can't believe yourself right now, then believe me. Everyone deserves to find hope in their life.
Very good message. Do you have any desire to speak with or confront the perpetrators who kidnapped you?
No. No.
No.
I I mean, people ask me, have you forgiven them? And I'd say yes to that question, but I don't feel like me forgiving them means inviting them over for dinner,
Right, right.
inviting them into my life. No, I can happily live the rest of my life without ever seeing them again.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you very much for chatting with me, Elizabeth. Is there anything that you want to add?
Just thank you so much for having me.
And my thanks again to Elizabeth for chatting with me. Again, the name of the book, Detours, Hope and Growth After Life's Hardest Turns. Great Christmas gift right here. If you need something, you can send it to your friends and family. You can get it at Amazon, and then you can also check out Elizabeth's foundation, the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, which helps. It's dedicated to empowering survivors of sexual violence and advocating for prevention, recovery, and justice. She's a great speaker. If you ever have a chance to hear her in person, she came to Idaho Falls a few years ago and did an event here, and it was a great event. So thanks to Elizabeth, and thanks to newspapers.com. If you want to do a deep dive on the case and find all the newspaper articles published, you can go to newspapers.com. That's another good Christmas gift. They sponsor us. And you know what another good Christmas gift is? This baby right here, our East Idaho News coffee mugs. We have a few left. Many of you have been buying these. Thank you. We have a few left. Would love to sell out by Christmas. We have a couple of Secret Santa tissues and ornaments that we're putting in the mugs and sending them on the way. I would suggest ordering by Friday, which is what, the 14th? No, the 12th. because the best that can guarantee that you'll get it by Christmas. So if you want to, go to eastidahonews.com/shop. We have a couple of shirts left, sweatshirts and hoodies, although those numbers are dwindling down too. But appreciate all of your support in buying our shirts and supporting our local newsroom. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back for more Courtroom Insiders very soon. And I hope you have a great night, everybody. I'm Nate Eaton. Take care.